introduction to Monmouth Baptist Church was talk of potential. That's all Marvin Hare had to peddle was potential. And Nancy and I came here about 20 years ago this fall at his invitation, and he brought us around Eatontown and had us look at what Monmouth Baptist Church was doing. He brought us over to let us see the house and garage where the Calvary Baptist Church was worshiping and see how that group was getting started. And we started to go back home, and I was still wondering, well, is there any potential over there at Freehold? And he took us over there where there were people meeting in a rented Grange hall, but he had the potential in mind of seeing a church emerging in that place. It's the only time I've ever had the experience of my predecessor coming by to check me out. And Darwin Bacon was the predecessor, and on his way commuting, as he did every weekend from here to Fort Belvoir, Virginia, stopped by in Maryland to check us out to see if we would be suitable to be his successor to come and work with that church that was getting started at Freehold. But like John Meek, my vivid memories also are of the missions committee. Jesse Dilday gathering the missions committee, sometimes at Eatontown, sometimes here, sometimes the missions committee would meet over with us in the Grange Hall, but they would come there and get reports on what was going on with one of these missions that the church was sponsoring. So Nancy and I had the privilege of being members of this church from 1970 to 1972. One of those memories is that first Palm Sunday, coming through the snow to Monmouth Baptist Church for a joint baptismal service. And that was a time to rejoice. But I believe I was in attendance at your services more since I've not been a member of the church, as I've had the privilege of working with the association and accepting your invitation to come to your pulpit on numbers of occasions since that time. But one very special relationship that I enjoyed was when Jackie Ammerman was pastor of the church, and the church entered into a self-study, and we had a retreat, and the church, Steve, did such a tremendous job of compiling data on itself and its community, and I've been impressed ever since with what a diverse group of people and what a plucky group of people you are to hang in there and see what God is going to do among you. And I just can't wait to see what He's going to be doing as He develops the potential that He has planted in your hearts.
When I came on the scene, the church was confronted with some tough problems. And plucky is a good word. One of the things that I have always been impressed with about this church is that it never gave up on dreaming God's great for who it was going to be. One of the memories I have happened after a rainy day like today. You may remember that the old buildings that we were in when I was pastor had basements. And those basements were not always dry. After one such rain, I discovered water in the basement of the building we were using as the church office and education building. And we had just installed a new furnace. And of course, the furnace was down in the basement. And it was not too warm in the building when I got there because the furnace was not working. Saul Hicks came. He was the chair of these were tall rubber boots, and we figured that surely this was substantial. We took the first step down into the water. We were still on the stairway, and the boots were still quite substantial, no problem. We took the next step down, and the boots were still doing their job. When we got to the bottom, and we're actually standing on the floor, the boots were still doing their job, mostly. The top of the boot was right at the level of the water. Well, I started feeling this cold, moist sensation on my feet. And then I began listening, and there was this giggle. I don't know if you remember how Saul Hicks giggled. He started giggling, and I started giggling. And we giggled all the way through that water to find our furnace well submerged in water. And we giggled all the way back. And it was good to hear Bob, when he picked me up at the airport, telling a joke about this contractor that we have had occasion to run into. This church has never ceased, I think, to be able to giggle, to laugh, to make fun of the serious problems that we have faced together. But it has also never shied from taking seriously the decisions that have confronted it, from facing reality, and from looking at its resources and looking at what God has called it to be. That's who this church is, and it's a great church. Thank you.
I look back with fond memories of time I spent in Monmouth for a couple of reasons. One is, by the way, I preceded some of these guys. The old man that pastors this church, I was his predecessor, actually. That's right. I welcomed John on the bill, too. I was interim pastor here for a short period of time. It wasn't very long. Jesse Gilday called me one day and said, why don't you come up and preach one Sunday? And I did. And they let me preach 3 or 4 Sundays in a row. And that was when I was commuting from Fort Belvoir. And DeLane mentioned that. The reason I stopped by his house was not to check him out, but try to get something to eat. In those days, I got paid for a 500-mile round trip. They paid me $0.05 a mile. And that worked out pretty good. Actually, Pastor Harris sweetened the deal. He said, I'll give you 5 cents a mile, a place to sleep on the weekend, all the food you eat, and you date my daughter. I was kind of homely. I hadn't had a date in years, I said, hey, that'll work out for me, All I have to do is learn how to preach. And so it worked out pretty well. So I came up every weekend and pastored here. And after John came, and they started having services here when we went over to West Monmouth, and that was a lot of fun. And started church there. And then we went by to check out DeLane, and he checked out all right, I don't know what I was looking for. I didn't even know I was looking for anything, but it was a lot of fun. And enjoyed that time, that year and a half or so. By the way, I made some observations. Tell Bob Brown not to worry. I heard the Crescent World, good news for the Crescent World was getting the donation for the plumbing fixtures. And if those plumbing fixtures have a crescent on the door, like I remember, you won't have to worry about hooking up the sewers at all. That'll be taken care of right away. Paul Mott was talking about MBM. I remember one of the reasons that I'm here is MBM used to stand, they had a slogan when it started in 1969. It was Missionary Millionaires. Remember that one? And I said, wow, Missionary Millionaires, that's what I want to be. I'm still waiting. So far, I don't know. It's been a lot of happiness, but not much money. I am extremely thankful to several organizations. MBM is one of them for their consistent help with all the churches in our association, not just Monmouth Baptist Church, but just numbers of churches. The association itself, for all it does, DCNY, and for their partnership with us. And Quinn's coming tonight to be a part of this and partner with us in the work at Monmouth. And extraordinary thing. The state convention can't go around supporting every church in the state convention. That's not its purpose nor its design. Its design is to support churches and to help churches, but through its programs. And what he did tonight was extra special, and I thank him for that. And thank Baptist Convention of New York and their partnering, and knowing that this was an unusual situation. And I appreciate all you're doing in that regard. But Monmouth Baptist Church was special. I think about it, and I think about the opportunity it gave me when I was very, very young and knew a little of nothing. But they used anybody. I mean, they used anybody. They used me. And because of that experience, I'm here today. And I'm one of the happiest guys you'll ever meet. I'm thrilled to be where I am. And I'm not sure I'd be here if it weren't for Monmouth Baptist Church. I'm really not sure that I'd be here. And probably some of you are sitting where you are tonight thinking, you know, I wonder where I would be if Monmouth Baptist Church hadn't had an effect on my life. That's the greatest impact the church has had through the years. It's taken people and used them and let them be used by God and let them find direction for their lives. And for that, I'll eternally be grateful. I not only dated the pastor's daughter, I wound up marrying her. I got the best part of that deal all the way around. 5 cents a mile, while she's worth 10 cents a mile. Actually, because I'm married to her, I am a millionaire. She's worth $1 million to me and me. It is great. Someone said the other day they wanted to be a part of helping Monmouth Baptist Church get its church built. And I reminded them that Monmouth Baptist has a church. They just don't have a building to put it in right now. And what we're about is helping them to get a building to put it in. And I've seen the members there, and I've seen the faithfulness of them, and I've seen their hard work in recent days, and it's been a thrill and joy to me. Now, I'm in a vulnerable position because our church is the church nearest to them. And when they get a building, I'm not going to get some of those members that we used to get from that direction. It's kind of dumb of me to be hoping that they get a building. But I do hope they do it. And I'm sure they will. And God's blessing and going to do a great thing. And the exciting thing is that all of us have a chance to be a part of it. Now I'm going to wait and make my check presentation for my church tomorrow. And so I'll do that at that time. But I did get a free meal tonight. I've also learned something that I'm not sure I ever want to be indebted to Bob Brown. And if he'll tell me what the meal cost tonight, I'd be glad to pay for mine and my family's, because I'm scared he'll get it out of me one way or another. If anybody determines that, I'll be glad to contribute to the offering if they'll take it.
I know that you're just sitting there on your seat set, raring to share your thoughts for a moment. And we do want you to. It's just been so great to see people that we've not seen in 20 years or longer. And some of you that we've talked to, some of you we've spoken to on the phone, I said, tell us, put it in words, put it in a letter. If you've not read the book of letters yet, ask Bob to let me see it. It is such a great blessing. But some of you I know have things on your heart that you'd like to say. And even though the children may be getting a little restless, I hope you don't have a further appointment, because we're going to take just a few extra minutes here. And you come and share with us now. Anyone who wishes to, you can come, and then as you go to the seat, somebody else will come back with. Anybody? Right, John? Okay. I knew he was sitting on the edge of his seat here. I could tell you a lot about this guy. But I'll let him do it.
On Christmas Eve of 1964.
Oh, let me ask you, we're recording this. Each person who comes up, identify
Oh,
yourself.
yes, sir. I'm Lawrence Young. And on Christmas Eve of 1964, the moving van arrived at 79 Branford Circle and unloaded. he unloaded. It was quite a start. This was our last assignment at Fort Monmouth. And in the 2 previous assignments, we had looked throughout, I think, most of Monmouth County, trying to find a church where the Word of God was really being preached. And I don't know if any of you, and probably some of you may have had this experience of looking and looking for a church before you found Monmouth Baptist Church. But at the time we came, there was a real drought in this area for those churches that were needed, that preached the gospel. That time on our assignment, however, we found that the group that had met in Lena Ryals' house had in turn moved to the Limcroft School and was holding their services there, and we joined them there. And it was at that time that we decided, with the assistance and help of the mission board, to work toward getting a full-time pastor. And so we got a list of names, and Brother Hare's name came up, and it looked like, hey, this was really the man for the job. But everyone said, you won't be able to get this man because he's just finished the hospital chaplain's training course, and he won't be interested in coming. We said, we're going to try anyway. And so I was on the pulpit committee, and at that time I happened to be going to school. Army sent me to school with AT&T for a year, and so I could use their phone system without paying anything. And day after day, I was on the phone talking to Brother Hare, and I said, come see us, come up here. So finally he agreed to do that. And when he came, we had the map of Monmouth County, and we had a meeting in Lena Ryals' house, and we said, here's what vision God has given us for Monmouth County. And we pointed it out. We had all of these areas within actually about 35 to 40 miles around, and we showed what the need was in this area. We said, we don't believe you can find churches in this county and in this area that are preaching the gospel, and it's needed. And we were able to impress this vision on Brother Hare. It's almost frightening to see how this vision has come to reality. My sister has gotten me into a little bit of genealogy work. I'm not really a big fan on that, but in looking at it, one of the things I looked at was a sort of a sideways pyramid, and if you look back about 10 generations, all of your relatives that you could see on that chart is astounding. Well, I feel like in looking here tonight and coming back and seeing what has happened out of that church at Monmouth Baptist Church, that Brother Hare came, and believe me, he was a powerhouse. He just generates enthusiasm when he comes, and I know those of you who worked with him found that to be the case, but he really set us on fire and got us going. But when I look at that, what's happened tonight, I feel like I'm looking at the thing from another direction, where I'm looking and seeing all the spread of what God has done in this county, and it's just tremendous. When I saw this building as we drove by, it was almost unbelievable just to see it. And God really blessed our lives through that year that we were stationed here and saw this church get started and get going. And I'm convinced that you're going to work through this situation, and God is going to really use it to His glory here. And so all I can just say is to encourage you, and I said a few other things in the letter that I put in there, and so I won't go into all of those things, but our prayers and our hopes are for God to really use this work in a tremendous way, as He's already been doing.
Amen. I know our time is drawing close, but we want to take as many hands as we can. Is there someone else who would like to say just a word? Cindy, would you like to stand up right there? We'll be fine. Maybe